So IGN has a brand new gameplay video where apparently the Monster Hunter Wilds developers talk about weapon changes under their IGN First program. I've seen snippets of information from this video in my timeline that I quickly scrolled through to avoid getting spoiled because I wanted to react to it here first with you guys. So we're going to be checking out that video. We're going to be seeing everything that is new about these weapon changes that the developers are going to be talking about. There's going to be a link to the original video in the description down below if you guys want to go check it out without me speaking over it and pausing and doing all of the usual things. But let's go ahead and get stuck in. Monster Hunter Wilds interview, weapon design, and gameplay changes. We're being careful to maintain the good elements of past titles while adding the positives we want to each weapon type, as well as changes we want to make that would better fit this game's concept. Okay, why is this person just doing self-improvement? It's like mashing triangle. So what hunting horn is that? Is that... That looks like Ray Dow. Maybe? So Ray Dow is going to have Attack Up S, Fire Res S, Sonic Waves, and Echo Wave Thunder. Makes sense. That's the approach we've taken to designing and tuning each weapon type. As for long-distance weapons like light bowguns, heavy bowguns, and bows, which are usually the most powerful weapons straight off the bat, now that you're able to play continuously, makes it harder to load into different areas and replenish your supplies like before. What do you mean it makes it harder to replenish your supplies like before? There's pop-up camps everywhere where you can go and resupply. I don't agree with that. I wonder if that's like a mistranslation or something. It's not harder at all. If anything, I feel like it's easier because there's, at least back in the Windward Plains, there was way more pop-up camps than we had proper camps in Monster Hunter World's Ancient Forest or something. Well, pop-up camps locations. I forget how many because you had a limit on how many you could place down. So there were more possible locations, but the point is, it's not harder. I don't understand. But he says, we want to design basic damage sources to do damage without having to expend resources. Yeah, so that's the stuff like where bow, it just has no coatings now. I mean, it has coatings, but you no longer need the physical item of coatings. Bow is just completely independent, and it's all based on its own mechanics. And then the bow guns, the base shots, like spread shot, piercing shot, normal shot, all of those are also free. So for things like normal pierce and spread ammo, along with coatings, you'll only have to manage your gauge as you play. There's no limit as long as you have enough gauge. See, this is something that I think is important because I wonder what gunners are going to say now if they feel like they're not dealing as much damage as they used to do in previous games, because their thing is always like, yeah, my weapon needs to do a ton of damage because I have to manage ammunition. And it's like, okay, what's the excuse now? Like I said, I don't take weapon balancing seriously in Monster Hunter anymore. At the same time, I wanted players to still be able to prepare ahead of time or replenish supplies while on the field. You shouldn't want that. We've kept things like being able to get elemental ammo from what you find, while changing some mechanics for the sake of balance for these weapons. Ooh! In terms of feel, I think the hunting horn changed a lot. Absolutely. For the better. Like its echo bubbles. We've created a lot of new actions. We wanted to be able to properly depict bow guns and the way they need to be charged up to fire various shots. We put a good amount of work into creating parts that get put into them as a way of expressing that.
という意味ではいろいろ手を入れたかな。ああいうギミックを入れてちゃんと
Those gimmicks are what make the action more convincing.
まあ今何を自分がして
We
るのか
put quite a lot of effort into making clear what exactly a player is doing at any given moment.
一つではありますね。
This goes for all weapons.
セクレット
But there are some actions that can be performed while riding Seikret. Yes. Actions that don't involve your weapon or actions you can perform when dismounting from a Seikret. Connecting actions in new ways and directions is something we've been working on since World. With help from technology, we're switching to creating things like being able to move in a certain direction while stowing a weapon. One thing I think we're doing for the first time in this game is designing starting weapons for all 14 weapon types. What? Designing starting weapons for all 14 weapon types? We've always had all 14 weapon types starting weapons. Oh, I wonder if he means that the design of the weapons is very different between them, whereas before you usually get, like, you know, oh, here's the iron version of this weapon. So it's always been that you start with these truly primitive and simple... Oh, okay, that's what he means. He's talking about, like, we actually made proper weapons this time around, as opposed to just basic-looking weapons. True. Like, because these weapons with, like, the leather pieces and stuff, they look really good. In this game, you play a chosen hunter. Didn't feel right for them to have such simple weapons. So we thought that a way of showing that you're someone who's been chosen would be the creation of properly designed weapons like these. Yeah, these look great. In that sense, we've designed starting weapons for the first time. It seemed like something we should do given the game's story, too. Starting Hope series of weapons and armor is really cool. Yeah, it is. To the point where you could even imagine using it until the end. Visuals-wise, maybe. When we first made the Great Sword's Focus Strike, we had never made an attack where looking cool mattered more than performance. Having a chance to depict something like that thanks to this action was great for coming up with new ideas. It felt like if we could make that feel good, we could do more with other weapons too. We generally start with a greatsword. It's a weapon that can kind of do everything. So then when we were able to give it that kind of a focus strike, this game's big selling point, made us feel like we can do something even more interesting with other weapons. There aren't many other action games that have weapons with such a heavy, slow tempo. Yes, and this is very important that it stays that way. We don't want to be like, zoom, zoom, let's go, super fast. That's why we use the greatsword as the standard for Monster Hunter, making sure it's fun to use. Because it's kind of like the slowest weapon. Part of the concept for the other weapon types is finding ways to differentiate them from the core weapon that is the greatsword. If we make a game that's fun to play with a weapon as heavy as the greatsword, that makes it easier to create weapons with a quicker tempo. But if we focus on fast weapons, that makes it hard to create slower ones. The game will keep speeding up if we match the monsters to their tempo. I think that we end up with a game with a Monster Hunter-like feel and a tempo to its action, by making sure that both sides are properly tuned with a weapon. I hope that that's the case, because I definitely felt like Sunbreak got to a point in tuning where it's like zoom, zoom, zoom. And this is one of the reasons why when I talk about difficulty, sometimes I feel like people don't really understand what I'm talking about. Because when I say I want things to hit harder, the reason I want them to hit harder is because I want monsters to not be these zooming, super fast, hyperspeed creatures. I want them to be, you know, to feel the weight of the monster. And therefore, when the monster connects with a hit, because it's not going to be something that's going to be super fast. I mean, depending on the monster, of course. When he connects with a hit, you need to feel it. It needs to be punishing. Because otherwise, the only thing that developers can do to punish you is speed up the tempo, which is kind of like where we went with Sunbreak in a lot of ways. A lot of the monsters Sunbreak are just like zoom, 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 super fast. And you got your wirefall, you got all these crazy tools. And it was fun, but like, I want us to bring the tempo back down a little bit. They go on to say, that has the great sword speed, then figuring out the strengths of quicker weapons.
結果的にはモンスターハンターらしいその手応えというかアクションのテンポ感になってるのかなとは思いますね。モンスターハンターとしての
A lot of important elements to Monster Hunter can be found in the great sword.
体験には入ってる気がしますね。この重さを
I think the design makes people feel that we care a lot about creating that feel of weight. You should. You better.
デザインになってるんじゃない
It's
かな
very important for me, Fujioka-san.
今回の装飾品ワールド
The game's decoration system is similar to Worlds.
特定のスキル
That would mean RNG decorations. Decorations have specific skill abilities that are activated by placing them into a weapon or
の能
armor
力がついた装
slots.
飾品があってそれをこう、
Okay.
武器だったり、防具のスロットに入れることでそのスキルが発動できるっていう形にはなるんですが、そのスキル
But if it's a decoration with just one skill on it,
複合スキルじゃなくて1種類のスキルであれば、
you can create them through something like
錬金的
alchemy.
なもので、作ることができます。
So craftable decorations, you can create one skill decorations.
ですので、このスキル
You won't find yourself
絶対手に入らへん
completely unable to
ことは
get a specific
今回
skill in this
ない
game. See, okay, that. Oh my god. Yep, 100%. See, that's the thing. I remember so many people were complaining, I never got my, this decoration or that decoration. And I was like, yeah, but you guys got to take into account with the Iceborne improvements, they fixed that. They fixed that with Iceborne. And people are like, well, why would you think that they would include the Iceborne improvements in Wilds? And I was like, because of course it was an evolution of the system. Of course they're going to include it. And he just confirmed it. You're not going to find yourself not being able to get that one skill. Anyways, he continues, but for maximum slot efficiency, you'll want to get decorations with multiple
でも
skills.
最大効率
So,
を目指す
tier 4 decos, I'm assuming?
を目指していった方がより別のスロットを使える形になりますので、なので、
So it won't be like World where you can just get an Iron Wall jewel. You just can't get an Iron Wall jewel.
被害
そうもう
Like this guy did.
使わなきゃいっぱい
I got plenty, but I don't use a lance.
全然出なかった最後まで
Never ended up getting one.
っていう声もお聞きしてますので、
I don't think he's talking about Iron Wall. I think he's talking about Guard Up, and they mistranslated it. I think he's actually talking about Guard Up here. So we've added a system to respond to
そういっ
voices
た
like
対応は
his.
入れています。はいはい。
Because the shield decoration was one of the hardest decos to get. Like for a lot of people, they never got one. I remember on my second playthrough when I was doing PC, I didn't get one for the longest time until they like put it into the game that you could just get it.
エンドコンテンツに向かっていく
The
と
range of
こう
monsters you
ある程
target
度
narrows
モンスターがこう
as you
絞ら
enter
れ
the
てる
end
じゃないで
game.
すか一個あるかな
I
と思
think
うの
there's a
は
case where
その
usage of a
対応
certain
力が
weapon is likely to
その
increase if it's better
ある
at
武器
dealing
も
with
やっぱ
those
どうしても
monsters.
こう上がりやすいんだろうなとは思っててでもこのモンスターにはめっち
I
ゃ
think weapon types will tend to be
そ
used
のい
less
ける
if
け
they're
どこ
great
のモン
against
スター
one
結構
monster
苦
but
手
have
ってい
trouble
う
with
やつが
another.
どうしても使用
Absolutely. That is absolutely the case.
率自体はどうしてもこう下がりがちになるのかなと思っててまあでもうちは
But making it so that it's still easy to beat a monster with whatever weapon you're fixated on
そのでもちょっとやっぱ頑張ってもら
without
う
giving it some
どうして
effort
も
will lessen the
お互いのモン
individuality
ス
of
ター
both the
と
weapon
武
and
器
that
の個性
monster.
を
Yep.
失う結果になっちゃうので
He's talking about matchups. So matchups should definitely still be a thing. I don't want that to happen.
そこは
Yeah,
失
good.
いたくないんですでもいろんなことを
We have made it so that
試
it's
行錯誤して
possible
もら
to
えば絶対クリ
beat
アでき
them
ま
with
すよ
enough
ってい
trial and
う
error.
スタイルにはしているのでどうしてもそういう時は
So while there
時
may
間
be
効
a
率と
trend
か
towards
触りや
weapons
すさ
that
とか
offer it
まあクリ
all,
アしやすさみたいなもので多少はオールマイティな武器
in
の方
terms
に
of time
グッと
efficiency,
票が寄
ease
っ
of
ちゃ
use
うの
and
かなってい
completion
うのは
difficulty,
思いますけどまあそれもモンハン
I
か
think
な
that's just Monster Hunter.
ふうにも思って
Okay, see, it's important that he mentions this because this just reinforces what I've been saying for a while now, which is Monster Hunter is just not that game where stuff is going to be perfectly balanced, and we just need to accept that. Like that's it. And I've accepted this. I've accepted this for a while now, and I've been talking about I don't care if something's busted or whatever, as long as it's not one-shotting everything, because that doesn't make sense. I don't care. Okay? Like, I'll make commentary on it, and I'll make jokes, and I'll continue to make jokes. Like, I cannot express this enough. Like, there are people nowadays that get super offended if I make a joke about a weapon. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm not going to stop doing it. Okay? It's just not going to happen. Sorry. I'm going to keep making jokes about weapons, and I'll joke about my own weapon often. So it is what it is. But yeah, this just kind of confirms what I've been saying, which is Monster Hunter's never going to be that game. It's going to be perfectly balanced. You're able to bring 2 weapon types. So even if you have somewhat specialized ones, it'd make me happy if players use 2 to complement each other. Tokura-san, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm just going to bring 2 gun lances because we have 3 shelling styles. And if you let me bring 3 weapons, I'd bring 3 gun lances. I kind of want to use sword and shield or charge blade or something like that as well. But at the same time, I just kind of want to be, yup. I'm bringing 2 gun lances for 2 different shelling styles, which I still don't know which ones those will be, depending on which shelling styles I like the most. Oh man, but yeah, looks like we're going to be getting decorations very similar to World. We're going to be able to craft single style decorations, and then we're going to have to like grind RNG for tier 4 decorations, and those are going to be the chase items. But according to them, you're not going to be stuck not having a specific decoration that you needed, which is important because that was one of the biggest complaints that people have with RNG decos. That's not going to be a problem for you. Now, I am curious, are charms going to work? But we'll see about that in a future video, I assume. But anyways, that's going to be it for now. If you guys enjoyed the video, do hit it up with a like, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, all of that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.